Between the two of them.
The inside of Coates, Barker gets
Too heavily involved.
and that's Whitehead and Coates.
Welcome, one and all, to the final AGON by AOC MX-5 Championship round. We're at Virginia International Raceway, which I'm sure we'll hear much more about in the coming 2 hours. But first of all, let me introduce myself, Jack Oliphant, and my co-commentator, as ever, Dave Marshall. Dave, how the devil are you?
Yeah, doing rather well. I think I quizzed you a little bit saying how much do you actually know about this track, but it turns out you know a lot more than I do. I love the track, but don't know that much about it, so look forward to talking about it.
I was going to say, it's amazing what a quick 5 minutes on Google will tell you about pretty much any circuit in the world. It's fantastic. But, of course, before we start talking about Virginia, we have to talk about a little bit what we're going to be seeing on the racetrack itself. And, of course, it's the MX-5 Cup, and like I mentioned, we are at the final round. We've had rounds at Laguna Seca. We've tripped over to GB for Donington, Brands Hatch. Then we're over to Vallelunga, and of course the Red Bull Ring National Circuit was the penultimate round just a week ago, and it was absolutely brilliant racing there, as it has been pretty much throughout the entirety of the calendar, especially from memory, Brands Hatch GP, where we saw two 2x2 races for pretty much the entirety of the 40 minutes worth of track action we saw that night. Gold and silver class, of course, and if we're talking about the Red Bull Ring National, then we need to talk about what happened last time at it. Of course, it's Jack McIntyre who came out on top, scored the most amount of points, with Jack Smith in second place and Eric Axelson in third. And I'll tell you what, remember those three drivers, they are the dubbed platinum drivers, shall we say, in the gold category. If we're looking at the silver category, then it's the two names that you pretty much seen all season on the top three. And of course, another one that's sneaked in there at Red Bull. Brad Smith took home the most amount of points, remember that name. And Nathan Blank as well, doing very well in practice, I have to say, here at VIR. John Jones in third place, snuck himself onto that podium in the end at Red Bull. And he had a fantastic evening's racing. Hopefully he'll be able to repeat that this evening. Driver of the day, of course, was Jack McIntyre. He was pretty much perfect last time out, and we're hoping to see a pretty decent account for himself here again today. Apparently, he's a big fan of the circuit. Next up, we have the championship standings, Dave, and everything that happened at Red Bull has left us with this, hasn't it?
It has indeed, and you know, it's left us in a pretty good scenario going forward in this last round. So we've got Jack Smith, you can see, leading the way on 133 points. A little bit of a comfort blanket, I would say there, but definitely not out of the question. All it takes is to have one bad race, and that lead is very, very quickly diminished. Jack McIntyre in second place on 125, with Axelsen on 117. But it's the battle behind that is incredibly close. Kyle Felvis on 63, with Simon Reed only 1 point behind on 62, and Nicky Taylor there in 57 points. So Nicky Taylor, I think, really the guy to watch tonight. I think he's going to be really pushing forward to get them good solid results to really try and get as close to Felvis for that reverse grid battle as possible. Regarding silver class, it's Brad Smith to lose here really, 132 points, and if I'm honest, that's quite a comfortable margin going into this, but hopefully he doesn't let that go to his head and he just drives out, he knows he can. Mick Sutton on 118 with Nathan Blank on 116, so yeah, a very, very close battle again down there in the silver class. And then we've got Paul Laramie, John Jones and Simon Thorpe. Unfortunately, Simon Thorpe I don't believe is with us tonight, but Paul Laramie and John Jones, yet another battle on 2 points difference. So we've got our work cut out tonight, Jack, regarding trying to keep up with these points, and we might be relying on Tom on the broadcast to do a little bit of mental maths as well.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the drivers are having a bit of a task to keep up with the top three as well, but we'll get on to the practice and qualifying in a couple of minutes' time. First of all, we have to talk about the prizes that they're all fighting for. And of course, prizes are decided tonight, so it's more prevalent than ever. Gold and silver will both win the same prizes. So if you win gold, you will get an OBP hydraulic set of pedals, so basically the same pedals that are in the Mini Challenge series in real life cars. If you win the silver, you get the same prize. Second place in both categories will be the AGON 34-inch curved gaming display, a fantastic display to race on, do office work on, play shooters, anything you want. 144 Hz is pristine condition for any type of gaming or productivity. If you're talking third place, there's still a brilliant prize up for grabs as well. In fact, some people might even prefer the 2 VIP tickets with Motus One to a British GT round. Fantastic prize that as well. They'll get all wined and dined whilst watching some of the best racing that the UK has to offer with Motus One as well. Obviously a big team in conjunction with VRRC, so love to see that prize given to us by them as well. Big thank you to Motus One. Right, VIR. Let's have a look at what is becoming quite most popular circuit in our server, I think, at the hands of Dave Marshall in a hot lap.
So here we are about to cross the line at Virginia Raceway for the last round of the MX-5 Cup powered by VRRC. Down towards turn 1, braking just before that one board there, but crucially not getting too late on the brakes that you can't get that front end turned in because you want to be super early on the throttle all the way out of this horseshoe. Now up towards turn 3, some people might take a slightly tighter line there to try and shorten the track slightly, but I prefer to open it up so you're getting a little bit of oversteer with the bump there, but nothing too bad. Now into turn 4, yet again the same, trying to get on the power as soon as we can and almost keep that wheel as straight through that corner as we can as well to get the best acceleration down through probably one of the best bits of flowing track that I've really ever driven. Really good section here and be fantastic 2x2 in these MX-5s. So we go left, then right over the crest, then left into a dip, and then right over the crest as well, trying to hang as far right as we can, and then completely flat through South Bend here, turn 10, down the dip, what a fantastic section of track that really is. Now turn 11 and 12, difficult. You've got to get the braking done straight in turn 11 so you can open 12 up, and then it's hard on the throttle down the long back straight. This is why I'd imagine slipstream is going to play such a major part in the race. It's that long, we might see the double overtake happening. This is where a driver will be coming up behind another car, make the overtake on the slipstream, but then have the other driver filter back in again behind that car and make the overtake before the braking zone in this corner again. So really crucial section of track. Now down to turn 14. Got to be sooner on the brakes than you think there, so you can roll a speed through the corner. Very easy to overshoot that. And down through 15, 16, 17, use the compression here to get the turn from the car. See, I get a little bit of a bounce and a little bit of oversteer, but manage just about to keep that on the track. And there is a lap of VIR. Make sure you tune in on Tuesday night at 7:15 on VRRC's YouTube, and make sure you give this video a like and subscribe.
One lap at VIR is like 100 at Watkins Glen. That is the great Carroll Shelby who gave us that quote right after he won the first ever SCCA race at VIR in a Maserati 450S as well. So he's talking some old material, but of course it would be along those times. So a fantastic endorsement, I'd say, Dave. But we don't need any more endorsement than the fact that you say it's one of your favourite tracks as well.
Yeah, I mean, I did state that last week, and then proceed to ask the drivers in the interview, and to be fair, I don't know whether it was a mental game thing, it probably was a little bit, but it seemed to be all the other drivers' favourite track as well. The likes of Axelson, McIntyre and Smith all said it was up there with their favourite track. So yeah, we expect that not only the times to be really good, but they're going to have a great time out there as well. Brilliant track to race on.
Yeah, it looks it, that's for sure. And we even noted as you were coming across the line in that hot lap as well, didn't we, whilst we were chatting, whilst the video was going on, that there's no starting lines, is there? There's no grid markings or anything like that even. So it's clearly not a track that's used to, I suppose, racing in real life, because they haven't even programmed it in. But it's a brilliant venue and quite sensational, really. And we'll talk a bit more about what kind of venue it is and everything, because it's a little bit more interesting than just your traditional track in a couple of minutes. But first of all, Dave, we have to talk a little bit about the drivers that we're going to be seeing. We're looking at Mick Sutton at the moment and Jack McIntyre. Now, Jack McIntyre is on a very quick lap. In practice, we saw Eric Axelson leading the way, didn't we, from the rest of the drivers. Jack Smith and Jack McIntyre were second and third. Can't remember which way round. Then there was almost a second gap to the rest of the field. So we really are expecting big things from these top three. Yeah,
we are indeed, but I really do think it's not going to be easy for them drivers at all at the front. Them top three are on some pace, but the slipstream around this track is basically just going to make it a constant yo-yo, I think. Unless if a driver can get themselves out in front and break that toe, then I think the drivers are going to find it incredibly hard to pull away. Also, qualifying, we might see some of these drivers starting to work together a bit to use that toe to gain back the time. It's always one of the things, if you can team up with someone, it's so much easier trying to get the potential out of your lap if you've got someone to tow you to sort of get them few tenths a little bit easier. And oh, there's Jack Matt running all the limits on the track and the exit. You probably saw my hot lap there. I got a bit squirrely myself coming out that last corner. There's a really big compression just on that right-hander, and the car just seems to bottom out slightly and drift you wide, and that's exactly what happened to McIntyre there. But luckily for him, he kept it on the track and still put in a ridiculously quick lap, a 2:06.4, putting in provisional P1. But I tell you what, for such a long lap, Jack, the times are ridiculously close between him and Jack Smith.
I was going to bring up the length of the track, actually, because we're not used to, but we've seen quite a few shorter circuits, haven't we, on this series. Vallelunga's not particularly long in terms of lap time, shall we say, and especially Red Bull Ring National, very short circuit as well. And realistically, the problem with a long lap is one, the gaps between drivers can be longer, but it seems that's not happening tonight. But the outlap, Dave, and the inlap are such a lot of wasted time, isn't it? I mean, at a Red Bull Ring, instance last week, I think the drivers came in 3 times for new tyres because they could afford to do so because the lap time was only about 52 seconds. Whereas here, with a 3-mile circuit, you're bordering on Silverstone length, aren't you, with 2-minute lap times? It can be really, really sort of dangerous to think, oh, maybe I can get 2 sets of tyres. You really have to just do it on one stop.
Yeah, sorry, I will touch upon that really quickly, Jack, but this is actually a little bit what I was just talking about going on screen at the moment. We've got a train of about 4 or 5 cars here, all working together, I believe, using each other to gain that slipstream and get a little bit of an advantage. So, very interesting. I don't know whether they've just bunched themselves together by, chance, or whether some of these drivers have talked to one another saying, you know what, let's get together in qualifying and just go for it. So, yeah, I'll maybe throw you under the bus here a little bit, Jack, and I'm sorry to do this, but you're saying it's a long track. It's a 2-minute 6, which is a long time, but is this the longest track on the calendar we've had? Because obviously the straights are that long that even though it's 2-minute 6, you're doing a lot of straight in a lot of high-speed sections, meaning the track's actually even longer than what we would think. So I imagine this is probably the longest track as well, not just time basis, of the season.
Yeah, well, you're not throwing me under the bus there, actually. You're sort of agreeing with me, actually, because I was saying it is the longest, as far as I know, as far as I can work out, the longest track. Speaking a little bit more of the track, as Nicky Taylor sets his lap time by following Brad Smith. That puts a really strong performance in for Nicky, actually. He's obviously back from his holidays. He did brilliantly well last time out after coming back from his holidays. It just jumped straight on the sim, and he was straight into the action, and we love to see it from Nicky. But touching a little bit on the circuit, Dave, I mentioned to you just before we went live as well, how it's slightly unique, and obviously some people will have noted, even if I hadn't said it earlier, the fact that there are no grid markings, and that seems a bit odd for a racetrack, isn't it? But realistically, in real life, this isn't really a racetrack anymore, is it? They don't really host big IMSA meetings, although the track looked like it did take it. They don't do anything like that anymore, do they? It's a country club. So it's basically the same as a country club golf course out in America, where rich people all pay their money and become members, and then they can go on it for as many times as they want, and there's places to stay, and you can sort of camp out, or indeed there are lodges sort of by the track and everything like that, and you can just take your car and do what you want. And if you're thinking that sounds familiar, that could be one of 2 reasons. One, it's because the only other track that I know that is like it is Okayama out in Japan, where it runs a very similar business model as a country club, basically, and is used a lot in iRacing, in MX-5s, actually. Or you've been watching Top Gear around 2010 to 2013, and the Top Gear lads actually went and visited the circuit, stayed on site and everything like that, and I think they took 3 supercars, as they always do, and they visited the Virginia International Raceway as well. So, yeah, if you thought maybe it doesn't look too familiar because you haven't seen too much racing there, you probably saw it on that program as well. So a little bit more history on the circuit, because it's not used that much, is it really, Dave, in terms of sim racing in general? So it's always nice to sort of bring some facts to the table.
Yeah, it's not one that actually is very, very popularly used, but I don't know why, because it is such a good track. But yeah, tell you, all I can say is I wish it was my local country club. I do sometimes go and have an occasional round of golf, but I'd much rather put a little bit of membership money towards going out on track. Saying that, though, I imagine it would probably be a rather big amount, and probably a house deposit realistically a year to go and be a part of it. But I tell you what an opportunity if you did it, and if you had a little track car or something like that, what a fantastic place to go.
I would love to see your Civic razz round and overtake the Ferraris, the Maseratis, and everything else that would be flying around on it, and it'd be very entertaining, Dave. But as I said, unfortunately, it's all the way out in America, isn't it? So we can't enjoy the festivities, but we can enjoy it on the sim. So that is always nice. Mick Sutton, then we're keeping an eye out on. He's in 8th place at the moment. Realistically, Nathan Blank is by far and away the strongest looking silver driver here, and of course it is pretty much between Nathan Blank and Mick Sutton for that 2nd place. Brad Smith, who's currently sat in 7th, strong qualifying. All he really needs to do is finish in a half decent position, both races, and he'll be safe and sound for the championship. I said that, obviously, a lot of things can happen, especially in reverse grids. It's all about, can Mick Sutton really take that extra step up and get to Nathan as well? And that's a difficult thing if you haven't got a slipstream, which Mick hasn't got.
Yeah, sorry, I was a bit distracted there because on our timing sheet here, Axelsen had gone purple in Sector 2, so it looked like he was going to post a very, very fast lap time indeed. But McIntyre, following not far off the bat of Axelsen, has actually gone and took that purple sector back off him. So Axelsen's still on for a good lap here. Let's see what he can do before the line, as well as McIntyre, let's remember. So Axelsen's going to cross the line. Where is he? A 2:06.567, so it was faster than his previous best, but not better to climb the grid. But there it is, McIntyre, the first driver into the threes, 2:06.332. McIntyre here is absolutely flying, and it turns out he must like... Oh, and I say that, look at this, Jack Smith gone purple Sector 2 as well, so Jack Smith is on for an absolute stellar lap as well. Will he manage to get across the lap? And look, Brad Smith's not far behind. Is that maybe, did he get a tour from Smith? And he's beat his previous best, but he hasn't managed to get Jack Max. So drivers improving all the time here, and as I say that, Eric Axelsen, purple Sector 1, so Axelsen's now on the move. But I can see from the track map, he's in clear air, so no chance he's going to have a tour here. So he's going to have to find this outright pace just on the grid itself.
Yeah, it'll be painful for Axelsen, really, won't it? Because he'll have gone purple in Sector 1, then he'll see the Delta just eking away from him through this sector as he didn't pick up the slipstream that he had before. But yeah, purple times are coming in thick and fast now. Jack Max still on top, Jack Smith still in second, and Eric Axelsen hoping to claw back maybe just half a tenth, or maybe even a tenth, and he can overtake Jack Smith. It's all getting very close. Then Nathan Blank still the best of the rest in silver category, but best of the rest in gold as well, to be honest, just best of the rest. And he's 1.1 second behind the likes of the top three, which obviously we're watching Eric now. His Sector 2 wasn't as strong. It was a touchdown, which was to be expected, so we'll have to figure out and see how his Sector 3 gets on. But without a slipstream again, he may well find it a little bit tricky. Mick Sutton and Carl Felvis are both on green Sector 1s. Going to look forward to that.
That looked good to me there, though. That looked very good from Eric Axelsen there, coming through that last sector. Hooked up that little dip absolutely perfectly. Let's see whether or not this is any progress. He's about to cross the line now. So will he manage to beat his lap time? No. He isn't. He's a 10th off. So Axelsen not putting the last sector together. And I tell you what, McIntyre went faster again on that previous lap in the last sector. And that's it. That is Jack McIntyre across the line for provisional P1. Jack Smith hasn't crossed the line yet, though. He's thrown everything at this lap. But will it be enough to take P1? It doesn't look like it from the sectors, but that's not to say he hasn't done a fantastic third sector here.
Yeah, to be fair, Eric Axelsen actually hasn't crossed the line to take the checkered flag yet, as Smith comes across and finishes in second place. We'll have to keep an eye on whether Axelsen can really fit in that extra lap or not, or whether he's going a bit slow in Sector 1, isn't he, which is a bit of a shame. Carl Felvis, as I said, was going quick in Sector 1. Mick Sutton, quick in Sector 1 again, but both of those drivers I've just mentioned were a bit slow, a bit down in Sector 2. So as they come across the line, Mick Sutton will be hoping to jump Brad Smith, and he's done just that. So he's jumped the championship leader in silver category. Nowhere near Nathan Blank yet, though. So it's a good half a second almost, Dave, between the top and second place silver drivers.
Yeah.
It'll be a bit of a task to try and catch up, but there's always that slipstream opportunity.
And obviously the other big battle going on here is Nicky Taylor, P5, ahead of Simon Reed and Kyle Felvis, his other main rival, quite a bit further down the road as well. So Nicky Taylor managing to out-qualify both of them as well.
Absolutely. So we'll have a chat to our pole sitter, Jack McIntyre, in a couple of seconds' time. But first, we must skip to our very good friends at SmartFi.
At SmartFi, we do things differently. It starts with our 100% buyback guarantee. When you buy SmartFi token on the Smart Portal and hold it for a year or more, we'll buy back your token at the price you paid for any reason under the sun. You can borrow cash with our collateralized crypto loans or earn up to 13% interest on your holdings. SmartFi unleashes the true potential of cryptocurrencies, and there are so many reasons now more than ever to get involved. Join us today at smartfi.com. Grow your wealth and secure your future with simple, smart, and safe finance.
And we are back in the room, and just before we get into race one, Dave Marshall has our pole sitter in the interview waiting room.
We do indeed. As we go down to Jack, Mark, we did say last round out, you said in the interview that it was one of your favourite tracks to go and race on, and proving it very much so. Not only that it's one of your favourites, but you also look to be very, very quick indeed on it.
Cheers, yeah, I mean, that it was a tiny little bit of mind games with Eric last week, but no, it genuinely is one of my favourite tracks, and it's just such good fun to drive, and I think it's so hard to extract a really good lap out of here, so it's a really rewarding track to drive, and yeah, put a good one together in quali, so we'll see how the race goes.
Yeah, and regarding that, your actual lap, I take it was there any slipstream that you got in your lap? Because we did notice there were certain groups in certain places on the track where they were sort of trying to trade places to get the best run down certain straights as possible.
No, I was out on my own for that one. You know, it's worth a little bit with the draft, and especially in these cars with them being such low power. But I think when you're in quali, you need to put the lap together. I think there's far more time to be gained and lost in the corners and in the really tricky braking zones. So yeah, it was just a case of going out and trying to do a good one.
And regarding the race strategy around here, it's probably for me one of the hardest tracks to really think of regarding a race strategy, with the straights being as long as they are. I said in my hot lap video, always the worry is that sort of the double overtake. You know, the likes of Monza and Nürburgring, them really long straights where you can get overtaken, but then the slipstream of the driver you just overtaken can then lead to them getting back past you. So do you reckon, especially in the early stages of this race, it's going to be quite hard to calculate that? Or do you just sort of have to go with the flow of the race and try and use that to pull away from the rest of everyone?
You just got to go with it. I think you can come up with the best plan in the world, but then you get to the first corner and something's different to how you thought it was going to be. So yeah, just got to try and get a really good start and try and get away from there. If I can hopefully break the slipstream by the first straight, then maybe I can try and get away and just do some quali laps. But yeah, it's going to be tough.
Well, looking forward to seeing it, Jack. Good luck going into race one, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you after it.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Well, Dave, that's a very determined driver, I'm sure, very focused. I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on, because, of course, there is still a three-way battle for the gold champion, really, isn't there? Jack Smith leading the way, but Jack Matt clearly showing that he's got that little bit extra edge. Realistically, you were saying whilst the hot lap was going on, there's an opportunity for some double slipstreaming here tonight. I don't think McIntyre's going to have it all his own way.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for a bit of double slipstream, and also definitely a bit of opportunity for drivers helping others. A little bit of that bumping up behind the bumper and using their slipstream to then push the next driver in front, a bit NASCAR style along them straights. But at the end of the day, we're all in this last round now, and all the drivers are a little bit out for themselves. So we'll wait and see whether any team tactics come in, or any, you know, partnership tactics here, or whether everyone is just out for themselves. Also, just before the race, just the brilliant pan that Tom O'Farrell had put on the stream there. I was just watching it and thinking, you know what? We've got the use of the sims. We can edit tracks. How good would it be to run Virginia Raceway backwards? I was looking at it there. That left hand, when it was the other way around, the left hand bit that you would usually be going uphill through the left, right, upwards. Coming down that the other way would be absolutely mega, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. Yeah, it's pretty good the first way round. One last thing, very quickly, because we've only got a minute left before race one, and just talking about the silver category as well in the championship. Tom just brought it up on the channel there, but I won't make him bring it up again. But it's the fact that Nathan Blank, obviously taking that silver pole position, meant that he's moved one step closer to Mick Sutton, which means the gap between second and third in the silver category is down to just 1 point, which is very close indeed, obviously. And the gap between the silvers, Smith to McIntyre, is only 7 now as well. So points are already being scored, and they're bringing the championships only ever closer. What can Eric Axelson do as well? He's a fair way down the order, a very outside bet for the Gold Championship, I would say, but he is mathematically in with a shout. And of course, there may well be a big incident, and there's obviously a reverse grid to come. So everything's still to play for here in both championships, I would argue. Right, the engine notes are rising. The lights are coming on, and for the penultimate time in the AGON by AOC MX-5 Championship, powered by VRRC, we are off, and it's Jack Smith with the bog start yet again. I think Eric Axelsson, he's already into second place. Smith has had a disaster off the line. Our championship leader is already down into third. The three platinum drivers, in air quotation marks, have seemed to have separated themselves already as the rest of them try and fill themselves out. Nathan Blank still holds fourth position. Nicky Taylor and Brad Smith are fifth and sixth. Mick Sutton has fallen behind Brad Smith, and Simon Reed is still battling with them. Looks a bit three wide through here, Dave, and I'm not sure. I've never raced a circuit, but it looks ill-advised to go three wide anywhere here, but that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't quite know how they made some of them sections three wide and got away with it, but somehow they have. Simon Reid up the inside of Kyle Felvers. This is the battle for a championship position, so these will be absolutely battle as hard as they can, but what that has done is Nicky Taylor look ahead of Brad Smith in silver class. Nicky Taylor there has managed to get the gap on them and going to start to open this here. Simon Reid, you see, having a little nibble at the back of Felvers' car there. Is he going to try and push him to get past Brad Smith? But Brad Smith's going to be going, you know what, boys? I want to get away from this.
Oh,
and
no,
Felvers has lost the back end through one of the fastest corners. I'll be very surprised if he's managed to keep that out the wall. And unfortunately, that looks like a complete total from Kyle Felvers. So he's going to have to pray for that reverse grid race if he manages to get that reverse grid pull. But what a disaster for Felvers there, just running it a little bit too wide on the grass. I actually said during the hot lap, Jack, that was one of my favourite corners and it's absolutely committed, but that commitment there has really cost Felvers, and Nicky Taylor probably will have seen that as well.
Yeah, normally we're blaming the commentators' curse and other such things, but actually today I think we're seeing a first. It's the YouTube comments is the one that has cursed Carl Felvers there, unfortunately. His dad, Adrian, has been on, and he's this was during qualifying, or maybe even before. He's put no spinning into the tyre wall, KB. You did enough of that in the go-kart earlier. So I think for once, Dave, we're off the hook. I think we can blame Adrian there, which obviously is never nice for him. But for once, it's not my fault. Paul Laramie, Nathan Blank. Paul Laramie, Mick Sutton. Laramie's actually gotten ahead now. There's been a bit of a jump. And I think it's just the timing tower actually sorting itself out. Because Brad Smith looks to defend from Simon Reid. Reid really pushing everything to go forward and try and catch up to Nicky Taylor. Nathan Blank, Mick Sutton. As I said, not separated by a massive margin, but still there is a gap between the two drivers, so we'll have to see how that one works itself out for the next 17 minutes as we ride on board with Simon Reid as Brad Smith decides to just cut all the left-hand side. That'll open up the right really nicely, and you can see the advantage he's got there, and I think you said it in the hot lap, or if not to me, whilst the hot lap was on, Dave, you are flat out pretty much from the point that Brad Smith opened that corner up.
Yeah, so the Brad Smith pretty much demonstrated perfectly there. If you're patient and wait to get on the throttle through that left-hander, you can open it up a little bit sooner, and it means you get the drive all the way down this straight. So even though Brad Smith was probably only half a car earlier on the brakes, to get the car to turn in, because he got on that throttle application a little bit sooner. Oh, Paul Laramie there with running very, very wide, nearly into the back of Nick Sutton there. Paul Laramie's going to lose out a little bit on the drive on the exit here as well. But as I said, you had the likes of Brad Smith there just showing how important that throttle input is, and it gained him probably 4/10 there by the end of that straight, even though Simon Reid will have been getting a little bit of slipstream. So massively important round here.
Yeah, it's one of those crucial sort of driving tips is, yes, you might be able to gain a 10th going into a corner, but you'll lose 5 by the time you get to the next braking zone. So yeah, it's all about being smart and measuring up, and it's a bit of racecraft, but it's just sort of that knowledge of driving and having those sort of experience as well in your back pocket. And I'm sure there'll be, Simon Reid will probably been following Brad Smith. I'm getting all my names mixed up today. Simon Reid will be following Brad Smith. He'll have seen what Smith had done there and think, you know what, that works for him. I'm going to try that a little bit myself as well. Maybe follow him and learn a thing or two. Because, of course, it's a long race. There's plenty of time to learn a thing or two from the drivers around you, isn't there, Dave?
There definitely is, and I still think the slipstream hasn't really played that big of a role yet.
No.
I think we're going to see things really starting to develop shortly. Now, I'll tell you what, actually, a driver that's really impressed me, for all his pace maybe didn't look like it was quite there, Taylor is actually driving a really good race here. Not that far off the back, and all it'll take is them drivers in front to start to use that slipstream to close in on each other, start a battle, and it'll bring Taylor right into this, you know.
Jack Smith hasn't really been able to catch up to Eric Axelsson, though. I think that's more to the point, is the fact that Axelsson's turned the wick up a little bit, and I don't think Smith's quite been able to live with it, to be honest. We did see in practice, of course, that Axelsson was the quickest out of everyone, only by about half a tenth, but that's the margin that McIntyre got pole on, so it's not to be sniffed at, put it that way. But I think McIntyre, he looks fairly comfortable, but like you said, I don't think that the slipstream is working as powerfully as we potentially suspected it might, Dave. It doesn't seem to be reeling people in like Vallelunga, where we saw it was pretty much an instant guarantee overtake at the end of the pitch straight, was it?
Yeah, I think that's probably at the moment just a case of the drivers aren't quite close enough. But I guarantee you get a driver within about that 3/10 bracket, and that gap will significantly shorten, trust me. But unfortunately, Jack Smith just not quite close enough to the back of Eric yet to really start to challenge for that. Wait until it gets to about 3/10 if he can get the lap time down. Interesting enough, let's keep an eye on what lap times these front three drivers actually do going across the line here. So we've got McIntyre, who will be going across the line, obviously in first place. So he will do a lap time of, what's it going to be, a 2:06.485. So he is actually going very, very quick indeed. Eric Axelsson at 2:06.7. So dropping a little bit on McIntyre there in front. But Jack Smith actually getting Axelsson by about half a tenth that lap. So the gap did come down a little bit, but interesting enough, all three drivers are faster in different sectors. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how this race pans out.
I was going to say, Jack Smith currently owns the first sector, doesn't he? Jack McIntyre currently owns the second sector, and we can't actually see who does own the third sector at the moment. I'm not sure who is fastest, but I wouldn't be that surprised if it was Eric Axelsson, to be honest. Jack Mack has just gone purple in Sector 1 yet again, as we focus back with Simon Reed trying to catch up to Brad Smith. And the gap is still about half a second. I think Reed has learned a thing or two behind Smith, because he hasn't pulled out more of a gap. But it's still not quite happening for Reed. And I suppose I'm not entirely sure. You might be able to remember a little bit better than me, but I don't know how many practice laps were turned by this sort of, I suppose, best of the rest pack, Dave. But this is, as I mentioned before, an opportunity for Simon Reed to learn from Brad Smith. And unless you're following drivers, or unless you have a driver coach or something like that, just doing laps around the circuit almost mindlessly, it's like going to the driving range, isn't it?
This is the slipstream I'm on about. Sorry to cut you off there, Jack, but I reckon Simon there is now in it. He is in the slipstream, and I bet he probably isn't even pushing that car that hard there. Here we go. Look at this. Onto the back of Brad Smith there. That's exactly what I thought would happen. You've got a driver who's got the slipstream, but he's catching him at the wrong point on the track, and he can't do anything with that speed. So he now knows he needs to get closer on the run onto that straight to make that pass done and dusted. Otherwise, as you see, Brad Smith's got the controller line towards the corner, and Simon Reed just can't brake quick enough. Here we go yet again. Simon Reed is going to have to go around the outside, but he's not. This is clever by Simon Reed. That's a little bump on Brad Smith to go, look, don't defend, I'm not going for it. But Nathan Blank here is absolutely flying as well, and we can't afford to battle this, otherwise Nathan will be on us.
Yeah, I don't think Reed's really got a choice though now, as Brad Smith runs a touch wide, and he's going to have to go defensive, Brad Smith, because there's just no way to get back onto the racing line. It's the braking zone, and so he's just missing apexes a touch, isn't he, here, Brad Smith? He's not quite hooking it up together. Maybe looking at his mirrors a little bit too much, and that is obviously the worst thing you can do as a driver.
Right there.
Yeah,
Simon Reed's line, you're right. He definitely has started to learn a little bit off Brad Smith. That tighter line and getting on the throttle. Here we go again. On board, watch the slipstream. By the time we get in that Nissan board, look at this. all over the back of him now, and this is where he's got the overrunner speed up through the twisties here, and I tell you what, the bit of gradient as well, this is going to help. But that side by side, is Brad Smith going to hold him to it? He is indeed, flat out through this left-hander of Brad Smith with the absolute commitment, and I tell you what, here is Nathan Blank. This is important for the championship. If Nathan Blank can get ahead of Brad Smith, obviously Brad Smith's got a significant advantage for the championship, but Nathan Blank needs to outscore Mick Sutton by as many points as possible.
Yeah, well, getting past Simon Reed is not very important for him, but it does unlock the door to potentially overtake Brad Smith as they go back up the hill now. We'll keep on board with Nathan Blank. Keep in mind, if they do start fighting and they don't actually manage to pull it off, Mick Sutton will be there to sniff about sooner rather than later.
Whoa.
Trust you me, Simon Reed with a big commitment through the left and onto the brakes. He's very confident with not stepping that rear end out, isn't he? Nathan Blank just trying to let the car flow a little bit more. Read where these drivers are going to be aggressive. Read where they're maybe a little bit tentative. And see if he can take advantage of it a little bit later down the line. But as they come down the pitch straight, it'll all start closing back up. And Nathan Blank looks like he's got a decent run here. So does Simon Reed, however. These MX-5s, I'm guessing, will be topping out at some point soon. But it's who tops out first will be able to catch the others.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've just caught the corner of my eye. That timing tower, Jack Smith with a fast previous lap time, he is now 2/10 off the back of Axelsen. So I reckon we're going to see a very similar scenario to what we're watching at the moment, further up the road as well as this. But we're going to watch Reed go up the inside. That's a great move. Great move here, because Brad Smith, unless if he's super committed in the brakes here, won't be able to retaliate that. That was a smart move by Reed, attacking in a corner where he knows there's no real comeback for the other driver. Brad Smith with a slight slide out of that corner there, but what this is doing is it's bringing Nathan Blank right into the picture, Jack Smith now all over the back of Axelsen because of that slipstream that he'll have getting all the way up that straight. He's 2/10 off, but this here is the crucial bit. He needs to make sure that he hits the apex and gets on that throttle well. I'll probably say that was a little bit too much curb to get the best run possible. And sure enough, look at the timing tower. That gap is going up a little bit, but that will equalise and start to come down when that slipstream plays a part.
Nathan Blank now has a silver potential championship in his eyes as he's looking forward in the next 8 minutes. And we go back to Jack Smith. That gap did open up, but thanks to that slipstream within that about half a second magic margin, we're seeing it close up yet again, but it's not going to be an opportunity for Smith to really attack Axelsen just yet. He'll want to stay about this distance through the last couple of corners so he can attack him into turn one, and that's a big cut through the left that allows him to open up the right just as much as he can possibly dare, and only just about 0.2 of a second in it means Axelsen will probably have to start defending from Smith. Let's see what his tactics here, Dave. Is he going to bump draft him? Is he going to try and use him to catch up to McIntyre, or is he just going to try and take the points? And there's the answer. A little bit of a bump draft. Axelsen, get on with it. Don't need to fight. Let's catch up to the lead.
Yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, it'd be interesting to keep an eye on the lap times and see whether this is actually going to work. Jack Smith's last lap at 2:06.2 in race pace with fuel on board. That shows how important this fuel load is. But I tell you what, I was going to say this. In fact, I'll say it after this. Simon Reed, yet again, with the same move that he pulled on the lap before, up the inside, yet again, Brad Smith, but he's wise of it this time. He's going to have to commit on the brakes, but yet again, he can't actually make anything stick there to get back on Simon Reed. But what he has done is, has he managed to get on the power a little bit sooner there? No, he hasn't. So Simon Reed, yet again, I think he's found his overtaking opportunity there. He just needs to stop Brad Smith getting back past again.
Yeah, Mick Sutton has had an opportunity here to catch up, but he's consistently been half a second quicker and then half a second slower throughout the last couple of laps. So we'll keep an eye on him. But first of all, this is more important, isn't it, really? Brad Smith on Simon Reed, and then Nathan Blank ready to mop up any of the pieces that get spilled over here. And there is an opportunity.
Oh,
but he spilled over, and there it is. Simon Reed ends up spinning exactly pretty much where Carl Felvis did, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I
exactly where it did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if there was contact, but
Oh,
Nathan Blank's gone round as well. Nathan Blank with the spin, and that has opened up Brad Smith, but more importantly, for Nathan Blank's perspective, it's opened up the door for Mick Sutton to jump on through. So Mick is going to extend his second place in the championship at this rate. Brad Smith is going to extend his his first place in the championship. Simon Reed is absolutely gutted. He's going to lose out to Nicky Taylor, who's obviously hasn't even been here for 2 races. As we focus further forward, it's hard to digest everything that's just happened in the mid-back because we've got to shoot forward to see what Jack Smith is going to do. He's going to bump draft Eric Axelson. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, and this is smart play for me. Jack Smith knows that he's got a bit of a comfortable buffer in the championship, but he needs to take as many points away from McIntyre as possible to stop him from overscoring. What better way to do that than to bring Axelson into the equation and get his main rival to take the points away? What I was going to say before the battle all started to kick off there was, obviously, all the points on the table are as important as it possibly be for McIntyre. He's already done it in qualifying, got that pole. What I was going to say was, it's incredibly hard now for McIntyre to get the fastest lap of the race because you've got the likes of Jack Smith and Axelson who are working together, pushing the cars, and it's meaning their lap times are inevitably faster than what McIntyre can do because they've got more straight line speed. So this is actually very, very clever play by Smith here in P3, and he knows he doesn't need to be greedy and he doesn't actually need to win this race.
No, but I imagine what he'll probably be thinking is when the timer ticks down to 0 and then they're on that last lap, then there's an opportunity to use the slipstream and finally put the move on Eric. But until then, he doesn't really need to because he doesn't want to get into second place and then have Eric do exactly the same thing to him on the final lap. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jack Smith's plan does come to fruition because, as you know, Dave, in motorsport, you can do all the planning in the world, can't you? And then all of a sudden, the lights go out and away we go and it all goes to pot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's unfortunate, one of them things, and the thing that basically makes it that interesting to watch is motorsport is a complete unknown till it actually happens. You never predict really what is going to happen. Even McIntyre out in the lead at the moment, I don't want to commentators curse me, but 2 seconds in the lead, looking comfortable within himself, you know, and not to say he couldn't drop a wheel on the grass or spin or something like that. You just never know until he crosses that line itself.
No, but it looks like that Jack Smith is actually going for an overtake here, isn't he? Because Eric Axelson, I don't know whether he's just been forced into this because he doesn't want to lift off or not, but Eric having to go to a defensive line and Smith has had enough. He wants to nudge past, he thinks he has the pace on him, and he wants to go those points, doesn't he? So everything I was just saying is absolutely out the window. Smith doesn't care about Jack's position potentially. He wants to go into second place now and try and pull away and get Jack McIntyre, but Eric isn't having any of it. Already the gap between first and second is 2.8 seconds. It's gained by 8 tenths. It's absolutely incredible. We haven't even finished sector 1 yet.
I tell you what, Jack, the reason because of that is last lap, Jack Mack, without a tow, did a 26.0. An incredibly fast lap time. And I tell you what, if the points are right and Tom's worked them out, it actually looks like this might be, if Jack Smith finishes behind Axelson here and doesn't get fastest lap, this could come down to a single point. Oh! Axelson with a huge moment. What a save that was. That just shows the true class of the driver. Getting it sideways, keeping his cool and pulling back in behind Jack Smith. I mean, that was very, very brave through there and did very well to recover that slide. Very well indeed.
He did, yeah. He was going 2 by 2. There wasn't any contact or any malicious contact, that's for sure, between the two drivers. Just driving well. Jack Smith then into second position with 1.5 minutes left. And as I said, Tom O'Farrell did work out some points without the fastest lap being included. And he just worked it out again as if Smith is now ahead of Axelson. And it looks like that Smith is going to remain in the lead of the championship, but only by 4 points. And if you include fastest lap in there and everything like that, it'll only go down to 3 points, I believe, because McIntyre looks to have sewn that one up. Absolutely incredible. I can't wait for Dave. You have to get your calculator out. Tom has to. I pass it over to you.
Yeah, I'm already doing it, trying to work out little points here and there. And I tell you what, Axelson, it could be the real catalyst, if that's the right word, in this battle between McIntyre and Smith. This could make Smith's job really hard now if Axelson gets through. And put it this way, regardless of whether Smith finishes P2 or P3, we are in for a hell of a fight in this last race, and it does come down to this last race, which is exactly, let's face it, what we wanted at the start of the season.
I think it's what every championship wants, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I mean, people out there will probably be suspecting that Michael Massey's taken a new role at VRRC. You never know. But,
let's not go there.
It's not the case, people. We can assure you, this is actual racing. We haven't interfered at all, so it's all prime and ready to go. And I am very much looking forward to it, to be honest. Axelson, though, I think he wants to upset Smith even more here and get back on McIntyre's Christmas list. I believe earlier in the season he was taken off it swiftly at one point, but it looks like they're really fighting it now. And with the lap times the lap timer gone down to 0. This is the final lap of the race, and he runs wide. Smith runs wide, and that maybe, I don't think Axelson got the best exit himself, though, which is a big shame, unfortunately. Jack McIntyre, ignore what you see on the left-hand side. Jack McIntyre still is in the race lead. He's a little bit further up the road. We'll be able to catch back with him as he rounds the final couple of corners. But here comes Axelson going on Jack Smith, and he's had plenty of time to do it, Dave. I think he's going to have the opportunity. They're going to dart through the left, aggressive on the brakes. Jack Smith, and he's run off. Goodbye, he's off to Virginia. He's not able to actually stay on the track whatsoever. Luckily, he's got loads of runoff, but he's going to come back on behind Eric Axelson. No contact, nothing whatsoever. We'll sum up the points in a couple of minutes, but what we can say is Jack McIntyre has done everything he needs to. Qualified on pole, fastest lap of the race, and now a race winner here at Virginia International Raceway. Jack McIntyre is back in the championship running. Eric Axelson coming home in second place. Jack Smith will be ruining the fact that he threw it off and didn't have the opportunity to fight back. He comes home in third, with Nicky Taylor coming home in fourth. Pretty much a nothing race for him, but did very well at the start. Brad Smith takes the silver victory and will extend his championship lead, with Mick Sutton jumping ahead of Nathan Blank. Well, he was ahead of Nathan Blank going into this race. He's extended his second position. Simon Reed not having the race he wanted. He finishes in 7th, with Nathan Blank ended up in 8th and coming 3rd in silver. Paul Laramie crosses the line, and so does John Jones, and unfortunately, our only DNF of the entire race was Carl Felvis, who we saw going into the tyre wall on lap number 1, which we never like to see, obviously. Dave, that was a slow build, wasn't it? Everything was sort of sizzling under the surface, and all of a sudden, the last couple of laps, bang, we arrived. Yeah. This is the final.
I feel like it was calculated for that exact reason, though. I feel like Axelson knew he had to do it on that last, get the run, and it was the pressure piled onto Jack Smith there, going into there. But I didn't mean to laugh when he went off there. It wasn't at all relating to the drive. It was purely for that excellent one-liner there by you, Jack. I mean, that was such quick thinking. But yeah, fantastic drive by McIntyre there to take the victory. And I imagine Jack Smith's probably not going to be the happiest bunny, but now is the time to really get his head down. He's still currently got the lead, only just, but this is going down to the wire, and it couldn't be any better for us.
Absolutely right, but before we hear from them, which we always like to do, we're first going to hear from one of our sponsors.
And there we go. First of all, we'll go straight down to Brad Smith in the interview room, top of silver class. Yet again, Brad, really starting to put your stamp on this now. And I could be wrong, but this is looking fairly good for your championship hopes.
Yeah, if my maths are correct, I think that's it done now. So hopefully I can chill for this last race.
Well, I didn't want to say with it being provisional, and also our server hasn't updated yet, so I can't say for sure. It did sound pretty good for me when I tried to work out the points there going forward. So if it's as it stands, very well done, Brad, and we will be talking to you at the end of the night as well. So brilliant drive out there, and go and just enjoy race 2.
Thank you very much.
And we'll move forward onto a P3 driver. Jack Smith, you had to go for that move at the end of the straight, didn't you? You had no other option, and it was either going to work or it wasn't. But unfortunately, it didn't for you, and it's going to be all down to do in race 2 here now.
Yeah, and the starts again. Oh my god, I even practiced them, and they're still getting gapped at the start. But yeah, I went for that move and got a bit of oversteer, and it just sort of sent me wide. I didn't want to take Eric out, so I just sort of went straight on. So yeah. So is what it is. I guess we'll just push on for race 2.
Well, I tell you what, it's maybe not good for you, but it provides brilliant watching for us, and it's exactly what we wanted. Good luck, Jack Smith, going into the last round, and let's see what you've got.
Cheers, Dave.
Move forward on our race P2 finisher in race 1. Harder for me to say. Eric Axelson, brilliant result out there, and you made that last lap definitely count there, using the slipstream to get back through into P2.
That was I was trying to setting it up for the back straight, and yeah, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastically calculated. I did say to Jack in the commentary, to me it looks like Eric's sort of setting this up, weighing his positions up, getting close enough before the start-finish line, before that back straight, to get the run out onto it. And I believe Jack just ran a little bit wide onto it, and I bet then you knew it was definitely on.
Yeah, of course I expected him to do something there after the straight.
Yeah.
But I also realized that I had a good chance because it looked a little optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal drive there, Eric, and really looking forward to seeing what you can do in this next race. Go and enjoy it, man.
Thank you, Dave.
And we'll move forward onto our race 1 winner. Jack, couldn't have been much better, and I tell you what, I bet you're probably trying to slip Eric a little bit of money there for finishing in P2.
I was watching in my mirrors to see what was going to happen, because it was going to be, I think for me to have a chance at winning, I need all the wins and all the fastest laps and pole and quali. So it was that was tense. But I mean, there was 2 or 3 laps there that I did in that race that I think were probably 2 or 3 of the best laps I've ever done. So kind of found a gear I didn't really know I had there, and yeah, chuffed.
Well, I tell you what, you definitely did find a gear. A 2:06 flat, absolutely stunning lap time. That's probably about everything that was out there. So really driving, as you said, with everything you could have there. I don't know whether you want to know the championship positions or not, so I'm not going to tell you. But what I can say is it's incredibly close, Jack. Let's go into race 2 and see what you've got. And yeah, let's talk to you after the race.
Hopefully. Cheers, Dave. Thank you.
And we're back, and obviously having a chat to all of our race podium sitters, shall we say. I think we could give you 5 seconds maybe of flashing the screen. There we go. If you scroll to the top, you can see just how close it is. Brad Smith, with provisionally, is confirmed to be the champion, but look at that, really close. Only 1 point in it between Smith and McIntyre. Axelson's probably not realistically in with a shout. So that's very close, because the lights are already coming on and the engine notes are rising. Our interviewers had lots to say. Can they say it on the track, though, for the final time in the MX-5 Championship? We are racing. John Jones even on the pole position. Paul Laramie trying to join him in second place, and looking a bit further back, it's already getting a bit congested. John Jones still leading the way from Paul Laramie, but they're going to go side by side as they go towards T1. McIntyre carving through. Look at Axelson, and there's a spin already, and I'm not sure who the spinner was because we haven't seen the updates, but there's chaos. Nathan Blank's facing the wrong way. Is that Simon Reed or Carl Feltus as well? Jack McIntyre is off. Jack McIntyre is down in the 10th position. Carl Feltus is joining him down there. Nicky Taylor, there is a safety car. I need to take a breath, calm down. We need to digest it, Dave. We need to sum up what the championship's looking like. There's a lot to do in this 1 lap safety car.
There is indeed. Simon Reed out there in P1. So this is going to take, you know, that big point difference off the table at the moment for Axelsen, but more importantly for Smith and for McIntyre. So down in these lower positions, these are only worth 1 or possibly 2 points. So, oh, not the start at all we wanted for the finale. Obviously, we didn't actually see what happened there, but safety car's been called, which has been the right measure just to regroup this all back together. So Jack Smith, by the looks of it, is 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 cars behind. So at the moment, it's looking like a tall order for McIntyre, and he can't really afford to get too held up here. There's a little bit of damage on the back of Jack Smith's car, but obviously with these cars having such little aero, that's not really going to play that much of a part. Also though, look who is behind Jack Smith. Let's not forget that. Nicky Taylor, out of all the drivers that you could want behind you, I tell you what, Jack, I don't think Nicky Taylor's one of them. He will be going for that gap.
Nah, he wouldn't be high up on my list, that's for sure, if I want to sort of follow him here. He will go for the gap whether or not it means anything in his own championship. He's just here to cause havoc and win races, isn't he? And he hasn't won many races this season, but he certainly causes a lot of havoc. But in a very fair and respectful way. I'm actually a big fan of how Nicky races. Safety car then, I'm guessing, will be coming in. It'll be ending this lap, so no overtaking before the start-finish line. So that's quite crucial, but it looks like Simon Reed's already gone. He's decided he doesn't want to wait around for the start-finish line. He's gone. He wants to get the biggest margin possible so no one gets to slipstream him. Very clever. Who is around and about? I think Jack Smith is very close. No, he's not actually. Jack Smith isn't that close to Eric Axelsen, but Axelsen's very close to Smith. What about McIntyre? No, there's a big 7/10 gap, so a lot of drivers being caught out here by that fast restart. But one of them isn't Eric Axelsen. No overtaking before the start-finish line. Is Axelsen going to have to just lift off? I'm not entirely sure. If they come across the start-finish line, I think Axelsen was just ahead. I'm not sure. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Paul Laramie's had to pit in because he jumped the start-finish line. Sorry, he jumped the start, which was on the start-finish line. John Jones ends up running a little bit wide. Simon Reed, obviously, has extended his margin at the front of the field then. Axelsen into 3rd place overall. Here comes Jack Smith on Brad Smith. This time, as they go through the left, Nicky Taylor, again, causing havoc just by throwing his nose up the inside. He loves it, and so do we. Going on to the most important corner on the circuit, arguably, John Jones ends up falling off it, and that will end up leaving a lot of people to go past him. The two Smiths still going side by side. Sorry, Nicky Taylor overtaking Brad Smith this time. Jack Smith is into 3rd.
Yeah, that for me there was actually Brad Smith seeing Jack Smith braking and going, oh, need to let him through. Then he went to turn in and went, oh, Nicky Taylor was actually trying to follow him through there. So I don't think there was anything malicious there at all.
No.
Just Brad Smith here is looking at this going, all right, Nicky, get through and let's go. Let's get ahead of the drivers in the pack. McIntyre, I think, is struggling a little bit for progress here. Not quite getting past the drivers as quick as he needs to get onto the back of Jack Smith. He's not that far up ahead. You can see there the momentum lost onto that straight there, yet again costing him. His rescue here, though, might actually be Felvis. Felvis is up behind him. Will Felvis give him a little nudge here to get past Mick Sutton? It looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. Fair play, Kyle Felvis. That's yet again a little bit more money, probably out of Jack McIntyre's pocket to go and pay Kyle Felvis. What a job he's doing.
Yeah, Felvis just needs to make sure he doesn't run into the back of him. As I was saying it, McIntyre's held on to it. It was only a little tap, but when you're running at those sort of speeds, it can be pretty disastrous. Well held by McIntyre, and although, yeah, Felvis did him a bit of a favour, he almost cost him the lot, unfortunately. But that hasn't happened, has it? And actually, Felvis did a good job, as I said, pushing him through. And John Jones is the next victim on McIntyre's list. Simon Reed's still leading the way, and I'm sure McIntyre, if he can, which I'm not sure they're allowed, but they'll be sending him a private message saying, please, whatever you do, hold on to that lead for as long as humanly possible. I've got 15 minutes, and I tell you what, Dave, this would be a drive worthy of any driver of the day award if he managed to actually get up and mix it with the likes of Smith and Axelsen from here, because although there doesn't seem to be that many drivers in between them anymore, there's an awful lot of space on track, isn't there, which is the last thing that McIntyre wants.
Yeah, there is indeed. This is going to be basically have to be the absolute perfect qualifying laps. every single lap, use that slipstream to the advantage, not get held up. This is Kyle Felvers up the inside of John Jones here. John Jones taking a lot of that left-hand curb. Kyle Felvers still side by side. And I tell you what, this looks to me like they're probably not going to have the overspeed. And Kyle Felvers is actually going to go 2 by 2 through the twisties here. And in fact, look at this, exactly what I said. But actually, John Jones there, like, just backed out slightly to tuck in behind Felvers. Smart driving there and making sure that he's not losing considerable time to Mick Sutton, who's just behind. Needless to say, Jack Mack has just gone fastest sector 1 out of everyone. So McIntyre is going faster. And look at this, he's in the slipstream. This is what he needs. I tell you what, this is 13 minutes left of this race. I'm going to say it now. I don't think this is over. I don't think it's done and dusted yet.
Yeah, well, it looks like the one driver in Brad Smith is going slightly defensive, but I think he's almost... I don't want to say come off the throttle, but I think he has sort of lent it to Jack McIntyre, and that's sort of almost jumping out of the way, isn't it? We see a lot of people do that for Ash Sutton over the years, and so it's just touring cars, just because they know what will happen. He'll throw it up the inside whether you want him to or not, and McIntyre, he's driving aggressive here, isn't he? So is Eric Axelson. Yeah,
put it this way, that middle sector alone, Jack McIntyre took 4/10 out of Jack Smith, and John Max off! John Max off in the last corner. This is so costly for him. That would have been, I imagine, a really, really fast lap time with how that slipstream worked there. That mistake there might have actually just cost him the chance to catch back up. I'm not cursing him, but he needs at the moment for these 3 drivers to start to trip each other over and really lose a lot of time here. But obviously Simon Reed is battling for championship, so he's not going to want to just let this position go.
No, exactly. In fact, he's probably already held these 2 drivers up by about half a second just by being in front of them. But as they get onto the twisty, windy things, and as they get flat out, he'll start to get in the slipstream. That's probably what Jack Mack needs really now to make it a possibility, or a slightest chance, is Nicky Taylor to catch them up. Simon Reed is being overtaken by Eric Axelson. Now Eric can go through. That's not a big deal for Jack too much. It's Smith. Smith looks to be getting through as well, and he has done. So Jack Smith into second place, Eric Axelson into first, and Simon Reed with not much of an answer. He's sort of half looking around the outside, but I don't think there's really a move there. He's looking up the inside this time, and there's definitely not room there. Don't make contact, Simon Reed. No, he just about holds off. Held onto the brake a little bit longer there, and that just managed Jack Smith to get that extra turn that he needed. So it is Eric Axelson in the lead by 9/10 of a second. Jack Smith in second. Simon Reed, Nicky Taylor, and then Jack McIntyre, who has got past Brad Smith, but it took him a whole extra lap to get into the position he should have started this lap on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Simon Reed here, I think, doing a fantastic job. He's just let the drivers through. You know, that is such good racecraft there. And you've got to remember, Simon Reed here is battling for a championship in his own right, and yet has let other drivers past. He's going to try and hang on the back of Jack Smith here, and hopefully that'll be enough for him to do it. I mean, that is such big racing respect there by Simon Reed to allow the other drivers to get on and race their championship. Wow.
Interestingly, Nathan Blank, who was facing the wrong way at the beginning of this race, much like Jack McIntyre, has gotten ahead of a off-track Carl Felvers, but more importantly, for his John Jones definitely coming across Carl Felvers' nose there. More importantly to Nathan Blank is Mick Sutton's lack of progress. In fact, his progress has been negative. He's gone back down to 10th place, and we know that Mick's pace isn't worthy of that, so there must have been some kind of incident that Mick Sutton has seen himself, unfortunately, fall backwards. Now, that is big for the silver category championship as well. In fact, maybe we can have a quick look at that while things have just calmed down just a touch, because Jack Mack is about to catch up to Nicky Taylor, and I don't think from then on we'll be able to focus on much else. But Mick Sutton, Nathan Blank was separated by only 2 points. Now they're separated by 2 positions, really. John Jones is in the middle of them. So I think... maybe we'll have to get confirmation of this, but I think maybe there's a sway in the form of Nathan Blank maybe pipping Mick Sutton to second place in the championship here.
Yeah, so this, as it stands at the moment, would put Nathan Blank, I believe, ahead of Mick Sutton. And I would need to go and double check their points, but I believe Nathan Blank is doing enough at the moment for him to finish ahead of Mick Sutton. So that's first important news. Second important news is, to me, McIntyre is really starting to significantly eat into Nicky Taylor, and this is going to only progress him faster and further through. Axelsen here needs to almost be, holding Jack Smith up for McIntyre to really have any chance, I would say now, of McIntyre to catch up to this pack. So Axelsen, currently in P1, done a fantastic job to get his way through the grid and provisionally P1 in the standings there for this race.
We have to start thinking a little bit more about, obviously, driver of the day as well, which it's difficult to award a driver of the day on the championship evening, isn't it? Because the driver that will stand out the most is the champion, isn't it? But obviously we like to give our driver of the days to other drivers who have really stood out. So we'll have to keep that one in mind as well, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the maturity and the way Axelsen drove in race 1, calculating when he had to make that move, making sure that it wasn't going to get the overlap, committing into that last corner. And he is indeed. And I tell you what, I'm going to say this now, Jack Smith isn't that far up ahead. He is not that far up ahead, but I tell you what, this will not be helping McIntyre at the moment. Nicky Taylor battling very, very hard indeed between him and McIntyre. But Jack Smith, if I'm honest, I thought was further up the road than what he currently is. And it just shows, because Simon Reed is doing a very, very good job indeed of staying on the back. And I'm sure Jack Smith was closer than 2.5 seconds. I think he's lost about 2 seconds this lap, if I'm right.
Yeah, well, actually, I think it was about 1.6 seconds. Eric Axelsen was quicker than Jack Smith. So the thing is, from McIntyre's point of view, the last person you would want in front of you at this point, 7.5 minutes to go, couple of people in between you and your main championship rival. The last person you want to come up against is Nicky Taylor, and Nicky's showing exactly why. Now, some people, probably McIntyre fans, will probably be thinking, well, why is he getting in the way? This isn't for the championship. But it is for Nicky Taylor's championship.
Yeah.
He needs to fight Simon Reed, who's just ahead of him. So as McIntyre gets the overspeed now, you can expect Nicky's not going to give this up, because he wants to be the first driver to catch Simon Reed. Looks like McIntyre has managed to get it, and obviously Nicky's hope is probably that he'll catch Simon Reed and bring him into the clutches. But Nicky isn't the sort of driver that lets other people do his dirty work, Dave, is he? He's the sort of driver that will get stuck in and just say, you know what, I'll do it myself. I want to be in the mix of everything.
So what I am going to say is Nicky Taylor might have been better to let McIntyre through and then get in the slipstream and follow McIntyre, which will close him quicker onto the back of Simon Reed. So that's for me, Nicky's almost got to change his mindset of going defend every single position. Unfortunately, there's another retirement for Felvers. The car looked incredibly smashed up there, so I believe that must have been either contact with a car or, unfortunately, with a wall of some degree. McIntyre here starting to gap Nicky Taylor and make progress onto the back of Simon Reed. And you know what? I can just tell McIntyre here is pushing this car absolutely as fast as it will go. This is everything he's got right now.
In the previous lap, Jack Smith did gain 7/10 on Jack McIntyre, so the gap was increased by 7/10. So there clearly was a mistake by Smith in the previous couple of laps, so it's not his car necessarily that's damaged. However, McIntyre does need to use the slingshot effect to the best of his capabilities if he's got any hope in catching up to Jack Smith, who is very fast around here in his own right, of course. McIntyre, he said in that first race, Dave, that he was putting in laps that he didn't think were possible. They were the best laps of his life. He needs to start pulling them out here again, doesn't he? As soon as he's past Simon Reed, which is probably going to be the end of this straight, just like he did to Nicky Taylor, he needs to put everything through the car. And we've seen the aggression, the body language of the car. He is determined right now. Remember, ladies and gents, 1 point in it for the championship, which is currently led by Jack Smith. McIntyre is the catching driver, not only in the championship, but also on the road now, because he has got past Simon Reed, who I don't think is going to make as much of a deal of this as Nicky Taylor did. So it's now a straight shootout. And 5 minutes to go, and it comes down to this.
And you know what, Jack? I believe, if my maths is right, not as it stands now, but going into this race, and now Jack Mack's got the fastest lap of the race, the points would be even. So this is purely based on position basis. So depending on whether McIntyre or Jack Smith finishes ahead of each other, I don't see Jack Smith managing to beat a 2:06.2. That's an incredibly fast lap time that I believe was done in Slipstream. So this is going to come literally down to just the position of these two drivers. Will McIntyre do it in these remaining 4 minutes?
I'll tell you what, that is the question, isn't it? And you sort of get the impression that it all... I mean, every lap is vitally important, Dave, but if he's got any chance of it, it's going to be this lap he needs to absolutely nail. Because, of course, it is a 2-minute lap. He should be able to get this one in. If he's close enough to Jack Smith to have a sniff of it, he'll have 2 laps to not only catch that little extra last bit, but to make the overtake happen. Because, of course, it's not a foregone conclusion. But when McIntyre catches up to Smith, that it's going to be an easy overtake, is it? We know that Smith is a handy driver. He is a very good driver in his own right.
Yeah.
It's difficult, though. I mean, as I said, it all comes down to this, but I think you were right earlier on. When he threw it off in the final corner, that was a big change, wasn't it? Although he was facing the wrong way after the lap 1 or turn 1 even it was. Realistically, he was already starting from the back, so it wasn't that big a deal. But that one when he threw it off in the last corner, I think he'll probably look back and he'll think, you know what, that was more costly than that first turn error.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's them moments there that you end up kicking yourself for. But vice versa, Jack Smith also made quite a big mistake as well. So you can look at it and go, well, if that driver had made that mistake and this driver had, you know, what could have been. But at the end of the day, I think both drivers have to be just incredibly proud of what they've managed to do out of these cars. These are honestly stupidly fast lap times that these drivers are setting, and it's proven to be probably some of the highest driving standards I've seen. Absolutely wringing everything out of these cars. Let's not forget about Eric Axelsen, needless to say, up there in P1 currently doing everything that is required. And I tell you what a drive it has been by him tonight. A fantastic P2 there in race 1 and an equally impressive race 2 as well, getting through that grid early on.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. And to be honest, probably driver of the round for me, Eric Axelsen. And I know that he's... got the vote of Rich Hayden as well. So in our Discord, obviously, we have a chat about driver of the day, and Eric is right up there at the moment. He's been brilliant in this evening. And to be honest, I think obviously we've been focusing a lot on these 2 drivers, but the 3rd place man, Eric Axelsen, he's come on stronger and stronger throughout the second half of this this championship. Oh, I forgot the word then. Hasn't he? And he's sort of developed that slight extra aggression that he's needed to try and get through some reverse grids and get through some drivers that weren't ever going to sort of jump out of his way. So I've been very impressed with him in the second half of the championship, and long may it continue. Hopefully, when we start up the Porsche Championship, which we'll talk about at the end of this stream, he can continue to do so.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a few drivers that have learned a lot from this championship, and going into the Porsches, it's actually quite a similar car. You know, the brakes are very, very good. The car is reasonably balanced. It's just quite considerably faster, if I'm honest. So it's going to be almost like a grown-up MX-5, and I tell you what, it is going to provide some absolutely fantastic racing. I've been testing with the car all day today, and I tell you what, as I said, I think there's drivers in this championship that are definitely going to have a thing to prove going into the next championship. And I'm not saying don't forget, because we haven't mentioned it yet, but this is the last championship with the gold and silver split. I'll explain a little bit after that, but it's going to basically open this championship right up and really, mix things royally up. Put it that way.
I was going to say, I didn't even know that we weren't going to do gold and silver.
I'll explain all after the race.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can explain it then.
And I tell you what, I'm going to throw this in the bag now. Axelsen is going to cross the line with 9 seconds space. This is going to go to one more lap. And Jack Mack, last lap, took 3/10 out of Smith. Is the pressure starting to get to Smith here? 2 minutes to go on this lap. Oh, this would be a hell of a drive if McIntyre can get anywhere near here.
Yeah, to be honest, the gap between McIntyre and Smith is the same between Smith and Axelsen. So Axelsen's actually gone a couple of tenths slower as well. One thing we missed just before as well, which is big news for Championship, is Nicky Taylor has overtaken Simon Reed. So I think that means Reed still gets 4th by 1 point. Because Nicky Taylor obviously is not really going to get a fastest lap, is he, out of it or anything like that. So I think Reed is still 4th by 1 point, but we'll give you confirmation, or provisional confirmation, of that towards the end of the series as well. So a swing, but maybe not as massive. I think Simon Reed will be, okay with the fact that he's coming behind Nicky in this race, because it means he'll be fine in the championship. So yeah, McIntyre's gap to Smith is now under a second, but they only have about half a lap to go, and it's starting to get into the slipstream stage though, Dave, isn't it? I don't think he's close enough to really make a big impact, and he's ran wide, and I think that's going to slightly ruin it for Jack Mack, who threw everything at it. The time is slowly coming down, but I think if there was ever opportunity to go for a championship, not just a race move, a championship, I think he's maybe just ran about 3 or 4 inches too wide there, but we'll have to wait and see. You never know. There might be a mistake from Smith coming up to it. The pressure is going to be mounting on him. He's going to know everything that is basically bound to these last third of a circuit. Big pressure moments like this are really what separate fantastic drivers, but it looks like Jack Smith, he hooked up the left there. He's going to have a championship to his name in the MX-5 Cup here as VRRC, as McIntyre runs a little bit wide. Axelson will cross the line to take the win, but Jack Smith will be our champion provisionally here in the AGON by AOC MX-5 Championship. Jack McIntyre comes across the line in 3rd. He'll take 2nd in the championship, and he couldn't have taken it any closer if he tried. Nicky Taylor ends up in 4th with Simon Reed in 5th. Brad Smith spinning off in the rear end. We've already confirmed he's taken the silver championship, with Nathan Blank in 2nd place, just ahead of Mick Sutton, which I believe actually puts them on level points, because Mick has gotten past Jack Jones. But again, that is provisional, and that's just my rough calculations. We'll confirm it after the race.
And there's Brad Smith, probably actually messing up the country club's grass there, actually doing victory donuts there, but rightly so. Well done, Brad, on taking the championship here for MX-5 Cup. And I tell you what, McIntyre, I imagine, will be absolutely drained at this point, managing to, close to that degree onto the back of Jack Smith, but just not quite enough. That must be so draining. But what a drive by Jack Smith. Fantastic effort there. And I tell you what, if this is anything to go by, these future championships, I think we are starting to see a real rivalry.
I was going to say, I'm looking forward to it already. I'm very much hoping the likes of Jordan Brennan can come back in as well, because obviously he's racing in the Touring Car Trophy that we do on a Thursday night, but he's not entered into the MX-5s. He had to pick and choose and be a bit more specific about what he wanted to do. Hopefully, he'll be back on a Tuesday as well with these drivers, making a 4-way fight, and maybe even some other faces coming into the mix as well. Maybe Nicky Taylor picking up some pace and everything like that, and really throwing himself in there. It'd be great to see. It's been an absolutely brilliant championship, and all that's left to do, really, Dave, is to have a chat to our podium sitters in this race, also the podium sitters in the championship. And it just so happens that Brad Smith is also the winner of silver and the winner of silver championship. So it all marries up very nicely for our interviews. So I'll let you take it away with whomever you choose first.
Well, where do you really go? But unfortunately, we've got to go to our P3 driver in race 2. Jack Mack, not the race at all I can imagine that you would have wanted there. And, it's always good, but I can tell you pushed that car to absolutely everything it had there in them last few laps.
Yes, just another one of those that's not meant to be, it seems. Like, I had a really good start. I think it felt like I got past 4 or 5 cars off the line, and whatever happened in front, I got caught up, and then was pretty much, I think, second from last at the restart, and it was all but done at that point. I mean, I pushed and made a couple of mistakes, and it was probably in my own hands at the end of the day, but yeah, look, well done to Jack. I think over the course of the season he was the faster guy, so really well done and so consistent. So yeah, can't really be too upset.
Yeah, and I was just saying to Jack in the commentary there, I can see this sort of growing rivalry between especially you top 3 drivers there, really starting to show each other's cards there towards the end. And I tell you what, if that's anything to go by going forward in the next championship, I imagine you're probably doing it, Jack. But I tell you what, previous track record as well, you seem to be rather quick in the Porsches.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do enjoy them. We'll say there's a lot of stuff going on outside of racing and everything. So if I've got the time, yeah, I'd like to jump back in because they are good cars. But yeah, look, I just want to say a quick shout out to my family. They always give me so much support and so much resilience comes from them for situations like this, finishing second in a lot of stuff. But yeah, they're going through some not very good stuff. But I'm kind of proud of the way that they've dealt with it, and I think that filters through to me in races like this that you never really give up, and sometimes it didn't go your way, but oh well.
Yes, well, if there's anything I can describe you as, Jack, it's definitely resilient. I can give you that one. So hopefully all's going okay for you, Jack, and our thoughts are with you.
Cheers, mate, and thank you, and thank you to everyone involved behind the scenes. This was a really, really good fun championship, and another shout out to Jack and Eric, who were so quick, and yeah, we took it all the way to the end.
Spot on, Jack. Thanks a lot for that. Meanwhile, we'll move on to our P2 driver in the race, but also our provisional champion of MX-5 Cup, Jack Smith. What a race that was, but I tell you what, I bet your brain was going overtime to try and work things out there.
Yeah, all I had beforehand was "it's very close." Quote from Rich Hayden there in the previous chat. So,
I could be wrong. Once Jack Mack in that race had got fastest lap, you were tie points on McIntyre. So it was essentially whichever driver finished ahead was going to get it.
Bloody hell. Yeah, no. So yeah, from that point on, I mean, in that last previous race, I got the fastest lap from a draft. I was like, there's no way he's going to beat that lap. And then he does a 0.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that really threw a spanner in the works. And then, yeah, race 2, once again, let down myself on the start, lost loads of positions. But yeah, a bit of fortune came my way, and then tried to pull away, and a few mistakes after the restart. I think I had a bit of damage, but yeah, just had to, not look at my mirror, make sure I was, getting my head down and drive it to the end. But yeah, that was a mega drive from Jack. He really had me sweating in that end part, and throughout the whole season, Eric and Jack have been just mega quick, and it's been a pleasure to race against him.
Well, honestly, Jack, I think it's fair to say you've well and truly put your stamp on the championship and in VRRC, and hopefully there's many more championships to come from you as well. Next sign-ups are obviously in the Porsches, which I've said is a bit like almost grown-up MX-5s on steroids, and they're fantastic and quite a similar car to drive in essence.
Yeah, I was going to say, me and Jack actually have a bit of history in the Cayman GT4 in ACC, so that I'll definitely be down to have a go in that. So, yeah, we'll see what occurs, but yeah, well, hopefully you see me there.
As I say, fantastic drive, well done, Jack, and hopefully we'll see your rivalry grow in our future championships.
Cheers, guys, and yeah, mega job with the stream. It's been awesome to watch it back after every race.
Spot on, thanks, Jack. And we'll move forward into our race 2 winner, should I say, in gold class. Eric Axelsen, what a drive that was to pull your way through the grid, and also such a mature drive in race 1. It's also awarded you our Driver of the Day award as well. Well done, Eric.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had a good start, and yeah, I was lucky in the incident in turn 1. And yeah, after that, I got a gap between me and Jack Smith, and just trying to take it easy and bring it home.
Yeah, I mean, once you've sort of got a gap like that, I think it was up at just over 2 seconds at one point. I take it, how easy is it mentally to then sometimes switch off without really meaning to? You've got to make sure you stay sharp, and sometimes backing off a little bit actually sort of takes that away a little bit. So did you find that when you started to back off, were you struggling to get that consistency, or were you always staying aware, making sure that you kept them laps consistent?
Yeah, I wasn't really trying to do anything stupidly fast because I knew that I wasn't in the championship battle for like first or second. So I didn't have anything to win or anything to lose.
Well, I tell you what, Eric, if you drove the way that you drove, especially the end of that season at the start, I think we'll be in a very different scenario now. It was a fantastic drive, and we really saw a change and a maturity come from you, especially in the racing scenarios. And I tell you what, I think going forward in another championship, you'll definitely be the contender to take that P1.
Yeah, I know I was a little slow in the start of the championship. It's just a new community to me, and you have to like learn the other drivers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I have it now, and I look forward to join future championship. And
I think it's fair to say you definitely understand it now. Well done, Eric, and fantastic effort. And as I say, Driver of the Round award as well to go to you. So really top effort tonight.
Thank you very much, and thank you for organizing this championship. I had a great time, and I will join again.
Well, spot on, Eric. Looking forward to seeing you on the grid next.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm moving on to probably, I'm going to say, our most passionate driver across the line, Brad Smith. I hope you got a bill for them rear tyres, but congratulations on a P1 in the championship in silver class.
Thank you very much. I'll transfer the bill to you, Dave.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
I knew you'd like it.
Yeah, I mean, I take that there was a case there where race 2, you just had to go in and basically just enjoy it. It was sewn up going into that, and what a drive it's been. Virginia Raceway, where you've managed to sort up. What a track to do it on.
Yeah, I think I was suffering with a little bit of rubber banding at the start of the race. My ping was fine, but I kept having cars juddering around me, so if anyone got close, I was just letting them past, just trying to keep it on the track.
Yeah, and I tell you what, going into the next championship, obviously you've probably seen what's going on regarding there's not going to be classes anymore, but a different system put in place. I tell you, you're looking forward to that, and a new challenge arises, and being able to compete with them guys further up the grid.
Yeah, it's going to be certainly interesting, to say the least.
It is indeed, but we're looking forward to it very much so. Well done, Brad, and it's been a great drive from you throughout this entire championship as well. So a very well-deserved P1 there in class. Well done.
Thank you very much, and also I'd like to say thank you to everyone behind the scenes as well. Tom, Jack, and Rich that make this happen. Obviously yourself, Dave. You obviously do a brilliant job, and everyone, including my family, loves it. So.
Well, all I can say is hopefully we'll see you on the grid again, Brad.
I'm sure you will.
Looking forward to it. Congratulations, Brad, and well done on the P1.
Cheers, mate.
And there we go, Jack. I tell you what, that's a lot to try and wrap up when you're going through race results and championships all in the same time. It's quite a lot.
I was going to say, plenty of happy drivers, though, by the sounds of it, isn't there? And there's a reason for that, and it's the reason that's currently on screen. So this is all provisional, obviously. There are protests to come, and we're not saying there are any protests, that are going to be aimed at the people that we've spoken to, but we just have to cover our backs and say it's provisional. So Jack Smith has led the way for pretty much most of the championship and finishes 2 points ahead of Jack McIntyre, who, to be fair, I believe actually took it in his stride rather well, actually. I'd be mortified if I was Jack Mac. I'd be crying in a puddle in the corner. But he's handled himself with grace, and that's what we love to see as well. Done his family proud, I'd say. And, of course, second place prize is still pretty decent at a 34-inch AOC Gaming display. So, in third place, Eric Axelson as well. Obviously very pleased. He'll have driver of the day, and with 144 points will go home with the British GT VIP package, courtesy of Motor Swan. Hopefully he lives in Britain, otherwise it might be a bit more difficult for him to get him over here, but fingers crossed. I'm not sure where he lives. Simon Reed in fourth place, obviously ends up 1 point ahead of Nicky Taylor in the end, even though Nicky beat him on track. Carl Felvis in sixth after those two disappointing DNFs in this race. Well, sorry, this evening, shall we say. Meant that he was really out the running for that top four, but he'll be back strong, I'm sure. He's a fantastic young talent. And of course, it says Paul Zanatachi and Ethan Hill on there, but that's just because they covered for Nicky Taylor, who was absent for 2 rounds due to holidays. Looking at the silver category, Brad Smith, as we've just heard from him provisionally, winner of the silver category, which means he'll potentially get the OBP hydraulic pedals. Nathan Blank finishing 1 point ahead of Mick Sutton as well. Even on that last race, it all went down to that one yet again. And unfortunately, I'm guessing Mick Sutton had a mistake. He ended up falling rather far back, but he tried his best to get up there, but he didn't quite make it. So Nathan Blank finishes in second, Mick Sutton in third. Paul Laramie and John Jones are very close together in fourth and fifth, but Simon Thorpe, who unfortunately didn't make it tonight, means that he finishes in sixth, and Kenny Press was in seventh position. So we've seen the championship order. Let's have a look at what they win. There we go. So first place, that's like Jack Smith and Brad Smith, the two Smiths, will win a OBP hydraulic pedal set of probably the best pedals you can get for sim racing. Very similar, if not exactly the same, to the Mini Challenge real life cars as well. So we're talking high-end stuff here. Second prize, the likes of McIntyre and Blank. AGON 34-inch curved gaming display, and then Axelson and Sutton will both get 2 VIP tickets with Motus One to go to a British GT round. So 3 fantastic championships. Prizes even for this championship. And before we wrap up the evening, we have to talk about what's coming up. Now, before we go on to what's replacing the MX-5s, let's very quickly tell you about what's happening on Thursday, because this is finals week here at VRRC, and round 6 will be held at Snetterton, and it's the Touring Car Trophy, the Maximum Networks Touring Car Trophy, powered by VRRC. Round 6 at Snetterton 300, finishing it off just like they do in real life in the TCR UK series. So Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Hopefully you tuned into it before. You'll get an idea of what it is. It's basically this MX-5 race that you've just seen on steroids. It's absolutely mad and it's absolutely brilliant. So join me and Andy McEwen for that one at 7:30 on Thursday. Now I'm going to go and pass over to you, Dave, now, because we want to talk about what's replacing the MX-5s, and you've touched on it a couple of times already this evening.
Yeah, I have indeed. So as you can see, it's the Porsche Cayman Cup, so it's a GT4 spec car, everyone in the same car, and yet again, the same as the MX-5, it's a fixed setup. You can change the things like brake bias, brake power, tyre pressures and fuel, but other than that, everyone is in the identical same boat. You can see we got a more international based set of tracks as well, with some of my other personal favourites. Road Atlanta for me, a bit like the Virginia Raceway sort of thing. It's one of the tracks that isn't used enough, and it is absolutely fantastic. But as I also did mention as well, there isn't a class category, so you don't get silver and gold anymore. We are using basically a staged BOP. So what that basically means is it works out on all the driving data that we've had from our previous drivers, puts them into a massive spreadsheet that Rich has worked very, very hard on indeed, and basically gives them an allocated stage BOP. So there's 5 stages going all the way up through the increments, so the top drivers will go into every single race with a higher amount of ballast applied to the car than the drivers that are in 0. The big difference is if other drivers start to get results, it changes the bias, and it can also mean that other drivers end up on more weight as well. So the whole idea is the longer the season goes on, it'll get more and more even as it goes. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how drivers manage and weigh that up as well.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to make that spreadsheet, because that just sounds like a headache to me, doesn't it?
Trust me, you should see it. It is a work of art, and it is so far above my head. But Rich, as I said, has done a brilliant job on it. But I think he is a bit of a Excel guru there. So yeah, it looks very impressive, and it basically all comes down to algorithms and driving data. So it is 100% accurate, essentially.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And if anybody out there is wondering what staged BOP means, it's staged balance of power, effectively, is what BOP means, or bopping, we'll probably be calling it, through the 6 weeks. And of course, that starts on the 15th of March, which unfortunately I won't be here for, I don't think, but we'll be able to have someone in the commentary booth taking you through the first round at least. But it'd be a fantastic championship. So sign-ups are available now. Get on to VRRC in the Discord, link down in the description, and you can fill that one out and get involved if you've loved the championship that you've seen so far. Right, we've got to very quickly sum up the rest of what's been going on in VRRC. Next slide, there we go, is the fun race in the Fiat 500 Abarth, the fantastic little car on track. around Road Atlanta. I believe that looks like the shorter circuit on the track map from the left-hand side. And that is on Saturday, the 26th of February. I've always said the fun races are on Sunday, but by the looks of it, they're on Saturday. That's open for, I believe, it's free for any VRRC member. Am I right, Dave?
It's free for anyone to enter.
Oh, for anyone at all?
Yeah, so all you have to do is sign up to our VRRC Discord to join the community, and then you can enter and get a feel for what things are like here. And I tell you what, for all Fiat 500, them things are hard to race. Got a super tricky turbo on them, and if you catch them off boost, they're very, very difficult cars to race indeed. But also, this you weren't mistaken, Jack. This is the first week that it's going to be run on a Saturday and not a Sunday. So you were right in saying all them other times it was a Sunday.
Thank God, because I thought I'd been screwing it up for the past 6 months. Fantastic, and all the details you can see on your screen there. So just click the Discord link down below. You can sign up for the GT4 Caymans, and you can sign up for the fun race as well this Saturday coming. Right, that's not all. Very quickly, everybody who's been watching the broadcast for the last month or two will know exactly what this means, but Forza Horizon 5, if you're a more casual sim racer and you sort of only have the Xbox, or you're just sort of a bit more casual about things and you want to race on Forza Horizon 5, well, in the Discord we have channels that are set up to discuss all things Forza, and basically you can show off your cars, any mods, any fun sort of upcoming matchmaking things, anything you want basically from Forza, it's all in the Discord. If you want to get involved in any of our championships on Assetto Corsa or Time Attacks, all the fun races that we've just mentioned, then you can also get involved. That's the bottom right tile. And then on the left is the Assetto Corsa Competizione. We do some weekly endurance races. I believe we do some maybe potentially special races going in the future, but we're not entirely sure just yet, but there's still plenty of activity. And then Dirt Rally 2.0 as well, Monday to Sunday, weekly stages and Rallycross. Log in anytime on the stage, just log into the server, put your lap time in, and Monday 6 a.m. or Thursday 10 o'clock at night, it doesn't really matter, and then obviously the winners will be read out at the end of each week as well. So please do get involved, as I mentioned quite a few times already. Discord link in the description down below this video. Right, all that's left to say, Dave, is I suppose a roundup of what we've seen in this championship and to say goodnight. It has been brilliant, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is if we'd said going into the last race, we would have had 2 drivers on tie on points and also a driver with 1 point again in both classes to secure championships. I mean, you would have just taken that, wouldn't you? You would have thought that sounds absolutely incredible. So all I can say is, if this is anything to go by, going into the next championship, it can be only bigger and better, can't it? So really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and all that's left for me to say is a big congratulations to our provisional champions. If you want to get the confirmations, then you can look on the VRRC social media channels throughout this week. You'll get all confirmations pushed through on Facebook, Instagram, and all that sort of thing as well. So make sure you're following them on that. A big thank you to everybody who's tuned in for the course of this series. It's been a pleasure hosting you throughout the last 6 weeks. Hopefully you're tuning in on Thursday as well. If you've liked, subscribed, shared, followed, shared it to all your friends and family to try and get people involved and watching your sons, daughters racing, then it's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Hopefully you'll be back as well, because I think you can agree it's been pretty sensational. My name is Jack Oliphant. I've been joined by Dave Marshall. A big well done to Tom O'Farrell on the broadcast. He doesn't really ever get to say his piece, but he's given us his opinions in the chat, and he's obviously doing a lot of the background work and a fantastic camera work throughout the broadcast as well. So big thanks to him and Rich Hayden at VRRC for letting me get involved in this championship yet again. Can't wait to be back, hopefully. Right, we'll see you on Thursday for the TCT finale, and if you don't tune into that, which you would be silly not to, we'll see you for the Cayman GT4 series in a couple of weeks' time. Good night.